Today I'm starting a new veggie scraps bag. So what this is a bag that I compile and slowly add to with different veggie scraps, herbs, garlic, onion, things like that, that I want to use in a future stock or maybe like a chicken broth, a bone broth. So these are all the things that you'd add into that, either to make a veggie broth or a meat-based broth like beef or chicken. And this just makes better use of your food waste so that it doesn't have to be waste. You save money and you get all that you can get out of your vegetables. So it's a cumulative thing. It's not necessarily something I'm going to finish today, but I'll start it today. First things first, I've got my zipper bag. I'm just going to label it veggie scraps. And then I'm going to add what I've got. What am I putting in my bag? Well, this differs every time, and that's kind of the point, is to use up what you've got around to get as much use out of things as you can. So I've got some ends of celery, trimmed ends that I'm not using for fresh eating. I wouldn't want to chop these and put them in a salad, but they're great for flavoring a broth. I've got some leaves from the top, not the best looking things, not particularly nice crunch or anything, so those are going in there. Random stock left over. I've got some extra carrot sticks that didn't get eaten at lunch. Those are going in the bag. Other things that I'd put in here is like the peelings from the carrots. If I'm doing like a veggie based stock, I would go ahead and put beet peels in there. Also the root tips, the tops from carrots are great. The tops from beets are great. I might label it if it had something like that in there, because that's a flavor, like beets is a flavor that I may or may not want in maybe a chicken broth, but it's a great flavor for a veggie broth. Onions. I tend to get a lot of half and leftover onions, mostly because there's only one or two of us in the house that like to eat them, so they're not going in everything. And I might use a fresh onion in a salad and never get back to it again before it's not so great anymore. So that going in the bag. Onion roots, the tops, the skins, definitely do leave the skins and put them in there. Even if you're just peeling them, put the skins in. The skins actually give a nice color and impart flavor. Couple of cloves of garlic that were left from a head of garlic, and I've got other whole heads, so I'm just going to put those in there too. I have some herbs in the fridge that were just kind of getting close to their use by date, so to speak. They're fresh herbs from the garden, but they're starting to look a little limp. I'm not going to get to them. I have nothing in the works for them to go in, so they're going in the bag. And that's it. Yeah, the bag's not full, but the bag's not necessarily supposed to be filled today. The bag is there to add to every time you make a meal, every time you do some prep, and you've got some veggie scraps that are left over worth going in. A lot of options. Generally, you would avoid things like the brassicas because they can make things taste sulfurous and bitter, but if it's a flavor that you don't mind, there's no reason that you couldn't. And also things like potato peels are kind of a judgment call. They're starchy, they can cloud your broth, they break down a little bit more. So that's something that you might want to think about again, how you're going to use your broth, or just label the bag so that you know it's in there when you go to cook. Because, like you might not want potato peels going into your chicken broth, but if it's a broth that you're going to use for a base for say pot pies or a gravy, then I wouldn't be afraid to put them in there, because you know what? You're adding starches and thickeners to that anyway. It's never going to be used as a clear broth. You don't really care. It makes good use of those scraps, and it actually gives your broth a little body and thickening power. So, that's it. It's as simple as that. It's less about telling you how to do this, more about talking, like we have the list in the article if you check it out, talking about what you do and do not want to put in there, what you might want to think about, and getting you in that mindset to save your waste, make better use of it, and get as much for your money and your food as you can.